All right, let's jump back into this, right back into this. Genesis chapter 2, verse 16 and 17, which we already read, but I'm going to read them again. The Lord God warned him, "You may freely eat the fruit of every tree in the garden, except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. If you eat its fruit, you are sure to die." So if Adam disregards God's instruction in asserting his right to choose for himself what he would eat, he would no longer be depending on God for the decisions he made concerning what he should or should not do. Adam would be drawing his own conclusion about what he would consider to be right or wrong, good or evil. Yeah, all that to say, if Adam chooses the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, he's rejecting God, going his own way. And then God warns him, if you eat this fruit, you will die. Adam needs to be dependent on God. God is the author of life, the sustainer of life. But God makes it clear to Adam that if Adam wants to be independent of God, if Adam wants to say, no thanks God, I'm going to go my own way, there is punishment. The punishment is death. And let's talk about death real quick. We'll be hitting the concept or the theology of death a lot as we go forward. But this is our first intro into it. First one is spiritual death. I'm looking at my own PowerPoint. Spiritual death. So Adam would be immediately separated from God in terms of, spiritually separated from God immediately, no longer a friend of God in an intimate relationship, a loving relationship with God, but now an enemy of God by choosing to go his own way. No thanks God, I know you made this amazing world for me, gave me everything I need and more, have immensely blessed me, but no thanks God, I'm going to go my own way. Okay, he's making that declaration. Adam's making that declaration that, okay, he is not an enemy of God. He's an enemy of God, and so spiritual death. No longer that relationship with God, now an enemy of God. Yep, let's move on. Also, physical death. So first, instantly what happens, because God says, you eat it, let me see what it says. If you eat its fruit, you are sure to die. Yep, you are sure to die. So first thing is this instant spiritual death. Okay, now he no longer has this relationship with God. He's an enemy of God. Second, the body. But the body is not something that dies or will die right away. It will die over time. But now he's cut off. Adam is cut off from the source of life. Now the body degrades, falls apart, and dies over time. I brought a wonderful tree branch with me to illustrate. I'll just give a little picture of this. So this tree branch, I ripped off a tree an hour and a half ago. Less than an hour and a half ago. And I actually found a tree branch with green leaves still, which is good. It looks worse if all the leaves have fallen off. It looks like it's already died. Anyway, so now this branch has been ripped off the tree. The tree is its source of life. Like, so apart from the tree, apart from the trunk being part of the tree, like, is this branch going to continue to live? No, it's not going to continue to live. Now, like right now, it doesn't look dead yet. But we know that this branch is going to die. Like, it's not going to produce more leaves. It can't produce fruit. It's not a fruit-producing tree anyway. But we can imagine if it was a fruit-producing tree, like it could no longer produce fruit, could no longer produce flowers, buds, leaves, anything. Like it is now cut off from its source of life. That that relationship is gone. It's separated now, and now over time you will see this branch die. We'll see the leaves turn, leaves dry out, everything just dry out. The branch dries out and becomes an obviously dead branch. So that is illustration of the body of Adam. So he's now separated from God, who is the source of life, is what I want to say. He's the source of life, the sustainer of life. So making this choice, if he makes this choice to disobey God, to go his own way, okay, he's cut off from that source of life, and now his body will die. But not instant death. Over time, the body will decay and die. And then, when he dies, so the body is just a house, just a shell for our spirit, for our soul, it will now be eternal death for Adam. He's gone his own way. He's become an enemy of God. He doesn't have that relationship with God. He's gone his own way. Now when his body dies, his spirit leaves his body and does not get to go be with God. We talk about God dwells in heaven. God is everywhere. He sees everything, knows everything. He's everywhere. But he's manifest in heaven. He dwells in heaven, which is a perfect, amazing place that God dwells. So man would not get to go be there with God. He's an enemy of God, so now he has to be separated from God for all eternity. Because of this choice to say, God who created me, who gave me life, who gave me everything I need and beyond, way above and beyond everything we just simply need to exist, but so much to bless us, to give us so much enjoyment in this world, because we remember at the beginning, it is a perfect world. It is amazing, beautiful world. And yet Adam says, no thing, reject that God, which it kind of is mind-blowing in some ways. We're looking at it that way, what all that God has done for humanity, for Adam. But if Adam makes that choice, say, no thanks, I'll be my own God. I'm going to go my own way, there's the punishment. And it's God, God warns him. It's not a secret. God says this will be the punishment. You will die. And that death is this relationship is gone, spiritual death, the body will die, and the spirit is separated from God for eternity. So as we talk about death, human death throughout history, as we continue to move along, this is what death means. This is what it is. Let me real quick open up another PowerPoint. And we'll talk about Eve.
There she was, running on the beach.
Background, yeah. Okay, here's our timeline. We're at Adam and Eve. Yeah. We'll see that timeline again and again as we go forward. Let's move on. All right, Genesis 2:18. Let's continue. We're going to finish out Genesis chapter 2. 2:18, the Lord God says, it is not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper who is just right for him. Just verse 18. Oh, I need my notes. We got other notes. God recognizes this for Adam. God sees this for Adam. It's not Adam's idea. It's not Adam going, hey, hook me up here or something. This is God's idea, God's decision made from the love of God, the wisdom of God, recognizing that, another way of just blessing Adam, of caring and loving Adam, is to give him another person like Adam, a perfect being that can be a companion, a suitable companion for Adam. And also God has given Adam the job of being the manager over the world. And so now here's a co-worker for him too, because the task is too big for him. And then, God had commanded them, we saw in Genesis 1, to be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth, have babies. So that, it's like this is all part of God's plan. But God creating a companion for Adam is God's plan. It's not Adam's idea. And it's part of fulfilling God's purpose for people on earth. But first, God brings the animals for Adam to name. Let's read about that. 19 and 20, verses 19 and 20. The Lord God formed from the ground all the wild animals and all the birds of the sky. He brought them to the man to see what he would call them, and the man chose a name for each one. He gave names to all the livestock, all the birds of the sky, and all the wild animals. But still there was no helper just right for him. So God brings all the animals by Adam, Adam's naming each one, and then there's it all is done, like, oh, there's no helper for Adam. God is not like, oops, or surprised by this, oh, what happened? Oh, bummer, there's no helper for Adam. God knows this. But he has this, take place. One, this is part of Adam's work. Adam is steward, manager of the earth. Okay, he's got the job of naming animals. This is part of his, doing his job. Number one. Number two, it demonstrates the gap between animals and humanity. The world, people will say, we're just another animal. We're just part of the animal kingdom. But we are not. God says we are not, that there is a distinct gap between animals and people. As we learned last time, and we talked about tonight a little bit, people, we are made in the image of God. Animals are not. We're the only creation made in the image of God. There is something that sets us apart from the rest of creation. We are made in the image of God. Animals are not. So all the animals come through. There's no one to be a suitable helper for Adam. No animal to be a suitable mate or helper for Adam. And it's because there's a big gap between people and animals. Adam needs somebody else also made in the image of God that can be his perfect co-worker, his perfect companion, his perfect mate. He needs someone who shares the same interests, enjoys the same activities, has the same, intellectual, emotional capacity. Somebody like him, somebody also made in the image of God. And so God creates a companion for Adam. Let's read verses 21 and 22. The Lord God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep. While the man slept, the Lord God took out one of the man's ribs and closed up the opening. Then the Lord God made a woman from the rib, and he brought her to the man. Real quick, I think I asked my dad when I was a kid, do men have one less rib than women? Okay, he took a rib from Adam. All future males born had all their ribs. Adam's the only guy ever missing a rib. Maybe not. Maybe the other people have been missing a rib from time to time. But anyway, men aren't missing a rib or one rib short. It's just, he took one of Adam's ribs to make Eve. The rib is just a rib. Nothing magical or special about this rib. It's just a rib. God is the one with all the power. God is the one who creates Eve. He takes a rib out of Adam to demonstrating, I'm creating something like you. Out of you, I'm going to create a companion for you, and we're going to see that briefly, shortly, when we see Adam's response when he sees Eve. But that's a real quick point, a little note about the rib. But God creates Eve here with the rib from Adam. Eve was created by God in his image. It means to be created with intellect. So let's talk about image of God again. Created with an intellect, so she can know God, created with emotions, so she can love God. She's created with a will, so she can choose to obey God. God gave Eve a perfect mind, emotions, and a will, so she can communicate with God and with Adam and have a relationship with them. As we saw in Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, it says, he created them, meaning Adam and Eve, created them in the image of God, male and female, he created them. It's not just man that was created in the image of God, men and women, Adam and Eve, and then all people since then, all created in the image of God. Alright, so God creates Eve, and let's look at Adam's response. This is pretty cool. Genesis chapter 2, 23 and 24 says, at last, the man exclaimed, this one is bone from my bone, and flesh from my flesh. She will be called woman, because she was taken from man. It probably doesn't capture well enough Adam's excitement here. He is absolutely thrilled. He spent hours and hours. It's going to take the better part of a day to all the animals that were created by God at that time, for them to walk by Adam to name them all, and then there's no helper, there's no companion for him. And so he's probably a little dejected at that point. Now God creates Eve, he sees Eve, and he's like, yes, this is the one. And it's an awesome thing. He just points to that God created a perfect companion for Adam. Male and female, both made in the image of God, that can have an intimate relationship with each other. And then verse 24 says, this explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united into one. God ordained marriage. This is God's plan for Adam and Eve to have an intimate relationship with each other, to have children, to have a family, to be together. That is God's plan. Marriage is ordained by God. It's something started by God. It's not something that was made up by people. Some people would say that, sex is sin, everything between, God designed for a man and a woman to be married and to have a relationship with each other, an intimate relationship with each other. And that is something designed by God, ordained by God, and is a good thing. The last verse says, verse 25 says, the man and his wife were both naked, but they felt no shame. It's another just little piece that points to the perfect world they live in. Perfect God created everything perfectly. There's no death in the world. No animals or plants are dying, or people are dying. No death in the world. There's no fear in the world. There's nothing for them to be afraid of. There's no thorns among plant life or poisonous plants. Among animals, there's no predators. There's nothing that's going to kill another animal. There's nothing that's going to, mess these guys up, maul them or anything. Perfect world. They have nothing to fear. There is no shame, no guilt, no hate, nothing bad at all in this world. God, out of his love, created a perfect world in which to have a perfect relationship with people for all eternity. Not for him, he needs nothing, but for our sakes, for our benefit, for our enjoyment. What an amazing God we have. And that's that.